Hello, Kat.
Hi, John.
How are you?
John, I'm great. How are you?
I'm fantastic, thank you very much.
That's great.
That's a lie, but I'm still pretty good.
Oh, well, thank you for pretending to be great.
I pretended for a second. I could hold out about that long, and that's where we're at with that.
Okay, great.
Yeah. So, good. I'm good. Thanks.
Good.
What are we doing, Kat?
John, we're recording
No,
a
I mean
podcast.
like on a deeper level. What are we doing?
I'm not prepared to answer that question.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so what are we doing on a shallower level?
Well, in a much shallower level, we are recording a podcast.
Okay. I could buy that.
Okay, great.
What would you call that podcast that we're recording, Kat?
We're going to call it My Mistake.
Okay. It sounded pretty unilateral, I'm just going to say.
And, well, that's the fun of it, right? Because anyone can say, well, that's my mistake. Well, that's my mistake, John. That's your mistake, John.
Some people would say that we should call this podcast Our Mistake. Some people would. People are talking, Kat, and what they're saying.
I'd like to talk to those people.
I think that'd be a good idea.
So it's my mistake.
Yeah.
Huh?
Tell those people what we talk about on My Mistake.
Well, mistakes. Can you believe it?
Wow. Truth in advertising, finally.
So a lot of the times, well, in the old days, John, you and I would talk about our own very personal and sometimes humiliating mistakes.
We did, and we used to do that in person even.
We did.
We were in the same room together at the same time.
And we ran through all those. And then we started inviting people on to talk about their mistakes.
We did.
And we also go back into history and talk about hysterical mistakes.
We do.
And sometimes we talk about bison attacks, which I am very, very, very excited about.
This is the latest trending trend on My Mistake, is bison attacks.
100%.
100%.
So much so that friends now send me random animal attack videos, and I love it.
I've been trying to get friends to send me animal attack videos for years, Kat. You have achieved it in just 171 episodes of this podcast.
I'm living my best life. But, John, do you want to guess what style of mistake show we're doing tonight?
Well, it feels like lately we only ever do like shit shooters and cinema mistakes, and so I don't know. I guess the least likely thing I would think is that we actually had a guest on to talk about their mistakes.
It's funny you say that, John.
Is it funny?
Well, I hope so. It's going to be funny.
Okay, I hope so. I aim for that.
John, we have a guest on tonight.
We do.
Have you not noticed that other person in our Zoom chat?
There's a person in our Zoom meeting. Hello, person.
Who has been waiting so patiently for us to introduce them.
She really has.
It is none other than Master Chief Jen.
Master Chief Jen.
Master Chief.
Welcome.
Hi, Kat. Oh, thank you. Hi, Kat. Hi, John.
Hello.
Jen, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
You and we met a couple months ago, and we got to chatting, and between the two of us, we realized that you must have so many great Coast Guard themed mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to hear all of them. So I was like, well, no better place to talk about these, personal stories than come on to My Mistake Podcast.
There you go.
And
Yeah,
and here you are.
I have some gems for the entertainment of the masses.
I love it. We're strapped in and can't wait to hear.
Now, first of all, how long have you been in the Coast Guard?
Let's see. Today is the 21st, so 24 years, 5 months, and 19 days. But, who's counting?
I mean, Master Chief Jen, not to call you out, but it sounds like you are.
So when you show up for boot camp, it's like a 2-day process. So the first day, the whole boot camp company shows up at what's called the Military Entrance Processing Station, so the MEPS. And you stay the night in a hotel, and the next day, you're all shuttled into Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and then you're on a buses to Cape May, New Jersey, which is where Coast Guard boot camp is. Mm-hmm. So the day I went to the Coast Guard obviously counts the day you actually show up at boot camp as your anniversary, which was February 3rd. But I like to count it as, I showed up to MEPS on Groundhog Day. So that's how I can do it to the day every time, because it's been a really long Groundhog Day.
It really has.
Amazing.
So, yeah, sometimes it's like, like I said, a really long Groundhog Day, and other times it's like, that kid wasn't even alive when I joined the Coast Guard. What happened to my time? Where did it all go?
Yeah.
I can relate to that. I mean, not the Coast Guard part of it, but just where did the time go? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, then, I mean, let it rip, Jen. I'm sure, the mic is yours.
It's always tough to segue from hey, we're chatting to now you're doing the narrative. And so I just like to
your part.
recognize that right now that, boom, it's all the pressure's on you now, Master Chief Jen.
All right. Okay, well, let's see. I've got one that's really funny, one that's not so funny, but it's more a tale of unfortunately of some corruption.
Oh, dear.
I mean, that's funny.
Maybe. I'm gonna
hilarious.
withhold judgment on that one, Kat.
Oh, okay.
Not on the part of the Coast Guard, but
Good.
it was not let's see. So the time the Coast Guard got me out of a speeding ticket, I got a couple of good ones here. But
Well, that is great. You said you had a very funny one. Those are my favorite.
okay, well, I could start with the really funny one, but then it might go downhill from there.
Well, if you want to build up and then do the really funny one last, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that too.
Let Jen get warmed up a little bit.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Then if y'all feel the need to just edit your way right to the funny one, depending on how you think the other ones go, feel free. It's your podcast. Do what
And
you
you heard that. Okay.
All right. I would like to say, though, that, I've listened to a number of your podcasts, and a number of your guests have had these truly heartwarming stories when they go through and describe their mistakes and just the personal growth and everything that occurs to them. And this is not.
You sure it was our podcast?
Yeah. Well, it's not going to be that kind of.
Okay.
There's
fair.
nothing. There's nothing socially redeeming about.
Perfect.
That is not a problem. Not a
my
problem on the
favorite.
My Mistake podcast. No, man.
Exactly.
And America, you're welcome for my service. And, all your international listeners, trust me, your military's do shenanigans too. So, all right. Well, let me start with I'll start with the one with the corruption. This is the one I like to call the time the Coast Guard invaded Nicaragua.
I already love it.
Okay. I mean, they have a coast.
They do.
They do.
And so one of our main missions down in the Caribbean and in the South Atlantic is to stop drug runners. Basically, everywhere we go, that's one of our main missions. We're trying to keep the drugs and the migrants from coming into this country. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we have agreements with countries that we can go into the territorial waters, and sometimes we don't. In this case, we did not. But middle of the night, we see a suspicious boat. We start kind of stalking them. All of a sudden, they take off. We're like, yeah, we got us a drug runner. So we launched our small boat. We're chasing after them. And those bastards just, they ran straight for Nicaragua because we were obviously off the coast of Nicaragua at the time.
Sure.
And so my job during these particular evolutions is I ran the ion scanner when I was assigned to this cutter. So the ion scanner, if you guys see at the airport where they do the swabs and they're checking to see if you have the explosives or the drugs, well,
Sure.
that's what I did.
Nice.
When the boarding teams would board the boats, they'd swab everything in sight, bring it to me. I'd run them through the scanner. I'd tell them where to go, rip apart, find the drugs. And so I had nothing to do with anything.
Oh, I see. You're clean in this story.
I am clean in this story.
Convenient, Jen. Convenient.
But anyway, there are birds out there that fly faster than our Coast Guard cutters go. So we have a small boat of our own that can go pretty fast that we launch, and sometimes we carry helicopters with snipers on board. We can shoot out drug runners' engines. It's kind of cool.
Wow. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And this particular time, it's our small boat chasing after the drug runners, and they all of a sudden we call them go fast because they're tiny boats and they go really fast. Imaginative.
I love the military.
But all of a sudden, this go fast just stops, and our small boat, our crew is like, "Yeah, we caught him!" And turns out they weren't smuggling drugs; they were poaching sea turtles. You know, they had these
way
giant
worse.
sea
I
turtles
liked
on
them
board.
better before.
So much worse than
Yeah.
drug dealers.
Yeah, but some of the turtles were still alive, so you know we.
Oh, okay.
But
Aw.
wasn't too much longer later after that we got we were contacted by people in our chain of command because and we were basically told, hey, check where your boat position is, and we're like, oh, the cutter's fine. We're plenty outside of territorial waters because the boats just took off. They said, no, check where your small boat is. And wouldn't you know it, those assholes with their poached sea turtles, they'd gone right into Nicaraguan territorial waters, and our boat had chased them right in there. And we did
Right.
not have an agreement, so we couldn't keep them. But you know what? One of those assholes on that boat called a buddy on shore who called one of their people that taken bribes at the State Department or the embassy, and it went all the way up to the State Department, comes all the way back down to us, tells us we got to let them go.
Wow,
So,
that sounds cartelish. I mean, to
yeah,
have a
it was,
setup where you could, have that chain of communication that goes that high.
And it all happened super fast too. I mean, it was within 15 minutes of us stopping these guys.
Wow.
But we're like, you know what? We're taking your turtles.
Oh, thank God.
Good.
And we saved the turtles anyway. And
I was going to ask about the turtles.
yeah,
You said that there was no redeeming. This is fantastic. You saved sea turtles.
saved a couple of sea turtles.
Yeah.
So the small boat crew saved the sea turtles. I was running the ion scanner going, hey,
Those sea turtles had no gunpowder or drugs on
they
them
did
in
not.
any way, shape, or
They
form.
did not. The sea
Thank you,
turtles were
Master Chief
innocent.
Jen, for your service.
Nice job. Nice
You're
job,
welcome for
Master
service.
Chief.
But yeah, so I don't know, that wasn't really our mistake, but
No.
yeah, there's some corrupt asshole out there. I hope he gets what's coming to him.
So,
But,
okay, so, this happens, and I'm sure adrenaline is rushing, and you're chasing down the bad guys, and then it's like, okay, they get to go, and we're going to throw a couple sea turtles over the side of the boat, and then how did the rest of your night just like, remember when then we cruised through there, we're going so fast, and then there was like, are you just rehashing that story for the rest of the night, or is it just like, just another night?
It's almost kind of like just another night. I mean, the crew part of the crew has to stay on watch. Somebody's always manning the radar. Somebody's always on the bridge. Somebody's there 24/7. The rest of the crew gets to, day work, or they're already asleep. So most, they just, and it's like you kind of have to put it out of your mind and go to sleep because next day is another day. You never know what's going to happen. Your boat's going to catch fire. You never know.
Right. No, for sure. I've heard some stories. Yeah. I've heard some stories like with interdiction that some of these guys have submarines. Like there's so much money involved in it now that and like high speed, like 2-person submarines that are just full of drugs and 2 people.
Yeah, we've actually taken a big enough chunk out of their, or we like to think we've been taking a big enough chunk out of their surface traffic that they've gone semi-submersible to try to evade us.
Whoa.
I mean, whatever they can do to keep the money in their pocket. I mean,
Sure.
depending on you can make a bust that what my cutters, the best bust when I was on board, the street value of the cocaine we stopped was $500 million.
Holy shit.
Yeah, by the time it would have gotten cut, it was like 97% pure.
Wow. We just did what we call an oops
So
file.
there's a lot of money.
Yeah. We just did an oops file about cocaine that was found in crates of bananas that had made it all the way to the
that one.
Czech Republic. Okay, good. And we were really impressed with how much that was, but that was not $500 million worth of.
That was
worth of-
one incident? You found
Yeah.
that much? Oh my
Yeah,
God.
the boat was loaded with bales of like pure cocaine paste, and by the time it would have gotten, I mean, obviously they're not going to sell that on the street. They're going to cut that multiple
Oh,
times.
yeah. They're going to
But,
step
yeah,
on that.
it was like 100 billion, the way it was, but by the time they cut it, it would have been a cool $500 billion.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you don't know this, but like, what the fuck are they thinking? They know that you guys are out there. They're just hoping they don't get caught that one night?
Yeah, pretty much. There's more of them than there are of us,
My
unfortunately.
God.
So we do the best
True.
we can.
Yep. Wow.
Unfortunately, it still gets through.
John,
We're in the wrong business?
We're in the wrong business.
Are you suggesting we join the Coast Guard or?
Yes.
Yeah, it's exactly
Yes,
what you meant.
that's
Kat.
what I heard. Yes.
100%. Okay, great. Got it. You
I-
invaded a country. Check that off
Yep.
the list.
Invaded
Right.
the country, caused it. We didn't really cause it. Well, we might have caused an international incident.
Saved the lives of
Saved
sea
the sea
turtles.
turtles.
Yes.
Listen.
That's,
So,
that's my
almost started
takeaway
World War
from-
III. It was worth it.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
Pretty sure we didn't almost start World War III. The Coast Guard has a little habit of causing incidents, but
You weren't shooting down any enemy aircraft in our airspace.
You're
No.
fine.
No.
Nah.
Yep.
no. You're implying our weapon systems work that well.
I mean, you could tell me almost anything, and I would believe you.
That's true.
You look very trustworthy, and you have a long and honorable service record. So yeah, you could tell me that you're shooting down planes. I'd believe it.
Now we leave that for the Navy. So if we're going to cause trouble, it's going to be them.
There you go.
So
Top
say, get
gun.
for calling those puddle pirates. Yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, no.
I never
puddle
heard that one.
pirates.
Oh yeah, puddle pirates, shallow water sailors. They like to pick on us, but
Well, it's the Navy. They get picked on by everybody else.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the
Yeah.
Navy and the Marines have this big rivalry too, right? Isn't that they call each other the worst the worst names? None are coming to mind, so I'm just saying yes, they do. Why not?
Sure.
well, since the Marines are a department of the Navy, and this was a friend of mine who's a female Marine said, okay, this is kind of a sexist comment, but they call the Marines the men's department.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's Anyway,
Awesome.
but yeah, the funny thing was my cousin's son. He was attending the Naval Academy, and before he started, I got him a T-shirt that says Coast Guard because even the Navy needs heroes. Told him he might not want to wear that.
I wouldn't recommend it. So he's in Annapolis with.
No, he actually graduated 2 years ago. He wanted to be a fighter pilot, a carrier fighter pilot, but
Shit.
he's like an inch too tall. So he actually became a Marine. He's a Marine second lieutenant, and he's going to be an Osprey pilot, I believe. So yeah,
Whoa.
he's gonna fly.
That's not bad.
That's awesome.
I had a buddy who was 6'3" and joined the Air Force on the promise that he was going to get to be a pilot, and it didn't happen because he was an inch too tall.
Too tall.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been in some of those cockpits, and it's kind of funny. It's like you have to kind of somebody my size, all right, you got to squeeze down in there, and it's like, man, if I ever had to eject, it'd go poop.
Going anywhere.
Yep.
Yeah, you gotta be kind of tiny to be a pilot.
I guess so, and it's
Tinier than this.
Yeah, right. What are you topping out at there, Master
I
Chief?
think John's taller than me, I think.
Yeah.
I think we're pretty close to the same height. I'm about 5'9".
Oh, never mind. I'm taller than Master Chief.
That's all right.
You just have such an imposing figure. It's like, yeah, look out for Master Chief.
That could be taken a few.
You'll notice I didn't make any comment on that whatsoever, Jen.
No, just like, let's move on.
Yep. No, this is a tall people podcast.
It is.
Yeah. I'm 6'2". Kat, you're 6.
Yes.
Yes. And 5'9". 5'9" is very tall.
That's
But,
great.
But Kat's the tall gal.
Here's the tall gal.
Tall gal.
She loves it when I call her gal. It's a
I
thing.
just can't get enough.
All right. Do we have another tale of the high seas?
Yes. All right. I'll tell the really funny Coast Guard story.
I'm not gonna ever say no.
I've got a couple of personal ones that just kind of have ancillary Coast Guard involvement, but yeah, this one was this one's a doozy. Now I am gonna have to slightly censor a couple of things here,
Sure.
change a few names to protect for plausible deniability for the guilty.
Of course.
A couple of us are still in, but all right. So this was back in 2010, and so we're off the coast of Haiti, off the northern shore. Haiti's just had this massive earthquake. A insane amount of Haitians have just died.
Yeah.
Right.
It's pretty crappy conditions in the country. President Obama has basically said at this point that if anybody tries to tries to get into a boat, tries to make that crossing, and actually makes it to America, they're going to be okay. We're not going to deport them.
Right.
So we're like, oh, great, there's going to be some mass migration. So let's just put a cordon of Coast Guard around the island and let's try to stop them because, I mean, I can't even imagine how bad the conditions must be. That they will pile like 300 people onto a boat that's like 50 feet long and then try to make it to America. I mean, the conditions that you live in for that to be preferable. But
the streets are paved with gold here, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
But this is not a safe way to cross this the sea.
No.
And,
it's a big gamble.
So so we try to stop them. Basically just we're trying to save them. That's what we're trying to do.
Of course.
We're on the northern shore of Haiti, and this mass migration isn't happening. So all these all the Coast Guard boats and the cutters that are there, middle of the night, we're accidentally tracking each other instead of tracking this boat. Like, wait a minute, what position are you in? Oh yeah, that's us tracking you. Sorry. Go back to patrol area. Nothing's going on. So we decide that this is a fine time to have a live fire gunnery exercise because, we do have some, we got to keep our skills sharp just in case, anything ever happens and we are called upon to, fight a war or anything like that.
Sure.
We've got a couple of targets that, just steel targets that got welded up and we toss them off either side of the cutter.
Okay.
And so we're going to start just cutting figure eights in the water and blasting our 50 caliber machine guns at them and letting as many people get qualified as they can on the weapon. And
I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
It can be a lot of fun. I mean, we're actually doing some training, but those guns are fun to fire.
Well, I think, first of all, shooting a 50 caliber machine gun, that's going to be fun. Second of all, anybody who hears 50 caliber machine gun fire going, they're unlikely to want to get in a boat and go toward that. So it's going to have an effect of a chilling effect on them.
Yeah.
What?
Deterrence?
Deterrent. That's the word I've been honestly sitting here for like a good minute and a half trying to come up with, Kat. I'm losing my words.
You're welcome.
Thank you. She's such a caring, loving podcasting partner, Jen. It's couldn't ask.
I can tell just from listening to you guys.
So you're shooting 50 caliber machine guns.
50 caliber machine guns. So I unfortunately at this point am not on one of the 50 caliber machine guns. I'm up in the Combat Information Center.
Oh.
And there's a chief and another petty officer in there. I'm a first class petty officer at the time. I've got my one radar that I'm keeping an eye out, making sure nobody's around us. The other petty officer's on his radar. Chief's there overseeing everything. And one of the things that we are supposed to do when we're just wildly firing our guns off both sides of the cutter is we make
when you put it like that.
Well, we make a security announcement. Every 15 minutes, we're supposed to be telling, broadcasting on the radio, this is a U.S. Naval warship in such and such a position. We never say we're Coast Guard. In such and such a position, conducting a live fire gunnery exercise. Boats stay this far away. Planes stay this far up and this far away. And
are you saying that in French as well as English, or?
If you have somebody in combat who can speak another language, Spanish, just because that tends to be where we patrol, we'll try to say it in Spanish too. But in this case, we're only doing it in English.
Okay.
So, we're cutting figure eights, following through the water, blasting our machine guns off both sides, and everybody just gets caught up in the excitement of the moment.
Sure.
And the one petty officer who's supposed to be making those announcements, well, he didn't make them.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
Not in French, not in English.
Not in French, not in English, not in Spanish, not in anything. And neither I nor the chief noticed that he wasn't making them. So we've got 3 people now who have failed at their jobs.
You're culpable.
I am definitely culpable. So we're not telling anybody that we're conducting a live fire gunnery exercise. And all of a sudden, this, we pick up a radar contact. It's an airplane. It's going to fly directly overhead where we're supposed to be telling people not to go.
Oh.
Right.
So the chief is like, what the heck's going on? He goes and turns on the system called an identification friend or foe, an IFF. And an IFF is a system that basically every NATO vessel plane has it, and it basically lets us identify, your friend or your foe.
It's
You're
a
broadcasting
transponder
your friend, it's a transponder. Yeah, we won't shoot that plane down, but that guy's not broadcasting. Let's go get him.
Right. Just hope his IFF transponder hasn't just isn't on the fridge. Fritz. I can say words. Fritz.
But it can also be used to transmit other messages. Various emergency codes, like, if you're having an emergency, if you're having a general communications failure, you're being hijacked, those kind of things. And
Sure.
so Chief goes to turn on our IFF and doesn't check to see that it's not set to broadcast anything other than our own identification signal. And so we determined that this is just a military relief flight. And turn off our IFF. We start blasting our machine guns. Again, still not making the announcement because nobody noticed that this announcement was not going out. and meanwhile, on my radar, there's a boat that's it's about 10 miles. I got a target on my radar. It's about 10 nautical miles behind us. And every time we're like doing this, and every time we change direction, this is changing direction too. So
it's tailing you.
But they're 10 miles away. They're not in any danger and they're staying plenty far away from this area that we're not telling people they need to stay out of.
That's good.
So we wrap up the gunnery exercise and start putting all the guns away. Another petty officer has already got the weight bench out on the flight deck, and he's already, he's already pumping some iron and lifting some weights. All of a sudden, this big Sea Stallion helicopter just comes screaming over the top of the flight deck and circles around the cutter and just hovers.
Whoa. Oh, boy. Your IFF is off now? Is that correct?
Our IFF is off now.
Okay.
They get on the radio and they call us, and, we answer.
Hello? Is that what you say?
I think it's ahoy, matey.
Oh,
okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
We're the Coast Guard. We go,
Arr.
like that. But ahoy, matey, yes, that'll work too. But
nice.
So they identify themselves as a Sea Stallion from a naval vessel that happens to be carrying a Marine Expeditionary Force. And this is the vessel that was 10 nautical miles behind us, changing direction every time we were. And they said that we're the Sea Stallion from this certain naval vessel, and we picked up your IFF code that you're being hijacked.
Oh, wow.
Make sure you're okay. And at this point, the petty officer who was not making the announcements, the chief who was not making the announcements, they're not in combat anymore. It's regular duty rotations take over. It just happens to be that I am in this regular duty rotation. At this point, I remember, oh shit, we weren't making those announcements, were we? And we further look over at the IFF and we're like, yep, that was set to broadcast something that maybe we shouldn't have been broadcasting.
Holy shit.
It seems to me, Jen, that if you broadcast that IFF and it says to them you're being hijacked, and then they come around and say, are you being hijacked? And you're like, oh, no, everything's fine. I think I'd want to actually, confirm that.
Interesting point.
Yeah, no, we said no. We looked over, we're like, fuck, and we got back on the radio, and that's like, no, we're good. Everything's fine. They went back.
The calls could have been coming from inside the house. They would have never known.
Yeah. So there we were, cutting figure eights in the ocean, blasting our machine guns off both sides, telling the world we're being hijacked. And the story gets even better because when we all get back to home port, my cutters at this point, the home port was Portsmouth, Virginia, happened to be very close to the home port of this particular naval vessel. And it's right around St. Patrick's Day weekend. And one of the things they do in Virginia Beach is it's the Shamrock. It's the Yingling Shamrock Half Marathon weekend. So this is big race weekend. J&A Racing puts on this. It's an amazing show. And they've got an 8K, they have a half marathon, they got a full marathon. It's a big party. There's free beer.
Now it's a party. Like marathons to me, that doesn't say party. You say free beer, then
Yeah,
I'm on board.
I've run that half marathon like not. Well, let me rephrase that. I participated in that half marathon like 9 times. It's a good time. But
Nice.
this particular year, I was volunteering with a team called Team Groove, and it was started by the widow of a Navy SEAL who was killed in Afghanistan. Operation Red Wings, lone survivor. He was on that helicopter that asshole with the
shit.
RPG shot down.
Wow.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
she had this fundraising team that had been going on for a few years. She was raising money for scholarships. A local kid there in Virginia and in her husband's hometown. And so I was at the booth and selling T-shirts, talking it up. We have a couple of Navy SEALs who were they're doing pull-ups. $1 they'll do a pull-up, $2 to do them without the shirt on. And
I love it.
red-blooded bisexual American woman. I'm just like, make that rain. Yeah, yeah, baby.
I love it.
So this one guy shows up and we get to talking, and he says that he's in the Navy and he just came back from Haiti. And I'm like, oh, really? So what's the Navy about? And he said it was the same vessel that had been behind us. And I'm like, hey, you didn't happen to, so what's your job? He says he also was an electronics technician, and he happened to be on the bridge. And I was like, all right, I got to ask, what were you there? What did y'all think? And they're like, yeah, we figured it's just a bunch of dumb coasties didn't know how to work the gear, but y'all said you're being hijacked. We got to come check it out. And I'm like, touche. What am I going to say? Obviously, we didn't check our stupid gear.
Not a lot of defense on that one. Yeah.
No. At this point, one of the Navy SEALs drops off the pull-up bar, and he turns to me and he says, "Wait a minute, Foley. What country did you say you were on?" I said the name, and he's like, "You fucking coasties! I was on that helicopter."
Oh my god!
Just happened to be all in that little area at the same time on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they got diverted to. We happened to be in the area. They got diverted to come down and help, along with there were just so many American and so many international Navy vessels in the area to help out, and Red Cross and everybody. But yeah, when you dial Navy 911, even by mistake, they do care enough to send the very best to come save you from the fictional hijackers.
And a couple of days later, they're going to be doing pull-ups in Virginia Beach for $1.
$2.
Or $2 if they take the shirt off, right?
$2, John. Come on.
How many abs is that? Like, how much is that per ab?
Oh, they were pretty built. So they
I assumed
all the abs.
They had all the
abs. Yes.
So,
but again, you're welcome for our service, America.
Yeah, there you go.
Thank you for your service. I feel like after every answer, every story.
Thank you for your service to the My Mistake podcast.
Thank you for your service.
As well as to this great country of ours.
I have some questions.
No, good. I do too. So let's feather them in.
Let's hear them.
Perfect. So let's talk about the IFF. Is that what we're calling it?
Yes.
Great. Is it like a switch? Was it like, how do you accidentally set it to the we're being hijacked station? I don't know.
There's a couple of settings, some dials and switches you actually have to manually set. And best we could think was somebody was we have training. If you're on watch and nothing else is going on, somebody would pick a piece of gear and you'd give training on this is how you use it just in case, or we just do professional development things like that. And
Gotcha.
best we could figure is I like to think that somebody was conducting training and not that some jerk just said it to that
to be funny.
So that as soon as they hit the main switch,
yeah. So I'm gonna believe in my heart that training was being conducted.
Jen, it actually makes sense. It makes sense for that to be the default, because when do you have to turn that on and make sure it's at the right setting the fastest?
That's
true.
When
people have guns to heads, out on the deck. It seems like that just makes sense to me. Of course, I'm a dumb civilian, so don't expect much from me.
Well, I mean, it's not like we're off the coast of Africa. We weren't exactly going to be in being hijacked here.
It's not. I'm the captain now.
Yeah, exactly.
Master Chief Jen. So I have a question. I'm trying to picture the cutter in my mind. what's the crew size on a Coast Guard cutter? How many people are we talking about?
This particular one, there's about 100. It's 270 feet long. So
Okay.
It's big.
it's not so big when you're on there.
No, I'm sure you're a little up in each other's business a lot. Mhm.
Yeah, there's like no privacy on that thing. The birthing area that I was in, that was in there with 11 other women. You had the racks were 3 high.
Okay.
So you had, I don't know if did you ever watch Kill Bill Volume 2?
Yes.
Where she's in the coffin and she punches her way out.
Yep.
That is how much space you have between the top of your mouth.
It was like, what, 3 inches she had to cock back and
that's how much space you have, and your rack opens up and you can put stuff in there and you get a locker, and I think it was maybe about between the locker room, the head with the 1 stall and the 1 shower and the 12 racks, we probably had about as much room as your average American bedroom.
Okay.
So for
100 people?
In this case, 12 women.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Yeah. So it's definitely bunks are gender separated.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. It's the military's got a ways to go on that, but hey, at least we can be honest about who we are.
Well, we do have policies in place now for transgender members.
Okay.
And basically, our policy right now is so we all have military ID cards, and we're all, you don't have a choice. It's either male or female. There's no in between. Those were our 2 choices. Yep. So basically, you'll be assigned birthing as whatever gender that you have in the system that we made your ID card, in the system that we have all your benefits, everything like that. So
I recently got life insurance, and life insurance is also not it's binary. You're either male or female. Yep. Yep. And they don't seem to give you any kind of option of like, this is how I identify, as much as this is what the old definition is. How you were assigned.
Yeah, and we do have a ways to go, but at the same time, they're taking it slow just because. All right, so now you've got the 1 transgender member, and we want to make sure they're included, but we also have to take into account the other members in that birthing area.
Right.
It's we've got our newer cutters. They're slightly more modern than this 50-year-old cutter that this one particular one in question. And your birthing areas are a lot better. You get maybe like 2 or 4 person staterooms, so we've got more leeway.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So it's
Nice.
that's we still have the ones with the the college dorm, everyone's shoved in.
Right. And do you ever have a blanket party with somebody who snores too much, or? No.
Funny you should ask that.
Yeah. Oh, let's hear it. I love when I inspire a story.
Yeah. So this one actually happened in boot camp, and my particular boot camp is in Cape May, New Jersey, but my particular boot camp was we were the Eagle Company. We actually got to take the cutter Eagle, which is normally our that goes to the academy. This was an experiment. They brought a boot camp company on board for 7 weeks, and so that was our boot camp.
Nice.
And so you're in that birthing area. You kind of get to see what life is going to be like at sea right from the get-go.
Sure.
And so I'm in that birthing area. I think it was another 12-woman birthing area, and I had to ask everybody in the birthing area one morning. I was like, "Did you guys wake me up last night and tell me I was snoring so loud no one else in the birthing area could sleep?"
Oh,
They
no.
said, "Yeah." And then I said, "Did I say, well, what'd you wake me up for? Was it bothering me any?" And then roll over and go back to sleep. And they said, "Yeah." I thought it was a dream, but yeah. So I was the one keeping everybody awake.
Yeah. I would also be that one. I avail myself of a CPAP machine, but I'm also landlocked, so it's easier to do.
No, that was definitely me. But there was on the cutter with all the misadventures, we had another female petty officer, and she woke a bunch of us up with a bunch of moaning one night. She had a bag of we all have what's called a rack bag, so it's basically where you can like stuff a water bottle and some things that you want to be able to get to. Well, hers was stuffed with she would always bring a collection of just trashy romance books.
Oh,
okay.
All right.
I gotta say, I was relieved. I was relieved when you said trashy romance books because I was not sure what her collection was going to be. That was
No.
in her rack bag.
Yeah,
Wow.
and so the next morning we're like, "Could we borrow some of those books?"
What you reading over there?
So what are you done with? Let's divvy them up.
Wow.
Because you were having some good dreams.
Definitely.
Holy
That
shit.
was hilarious.
I'm so sorry. I believe that we've lost Kat. I have to say, we haven't had a malfunction like this in quite a while.
Well, I can save the really truly funny one for last, and hopefully Kat can come back on. But I do have another really funny one about the time a certain Coast Guard senior chief refused to let the Coast Guard have to come to her rescue.
I would love to hear about that, Jen.
So I was stationed in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I was a senior chief at the time. And I've done a lot of obstacle course races. I ran that half marathon a bunch. I love Spartans. I love Tough Mudders.
I watched a video of yours. I just want you to know, I watched a video of yours. I think it was on Instagram, where you were loading up your rucksack with a weight. That's honestly, that was the only time I'd seen you before you came on here, and I'm just like, wait, you're putting how much weight in that rucksack, and then you're gonna move distance? I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't relate to this.
Running kind of sucks at this point. I mean, I may say I'm 12, but my knees are like, yeah, you're 50.
Right. I'm sitting on a yoga ball right now on top of a treadmill that has a top speed of 4 miles an hour. I'm not lying to you. I can show you.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Uh-huh.
I was just thinking, it's rolling out. It's on the ball. So.
Right. And I mean, what's really funny is if I get excited about something, I'll bounce and people will notice and they're like, what is he sitting on? What's going on there? But that is all. Don't let
for
that.
everybody who couldn't see that, I almost snarfed my immunity tea.
There was almost some immunity tea coming out of your nose there. I could see it. And you know what? When that happens, I just call it a night. I've won at that point.
Oh, you definitely almost won on that one.
Right. So you do you're doing the Tough Mudders and the Spartans and all that stuff in Milwaukee.
Yeah, I got my start doing obstacle course races when I was in Boston, and I went from Boston to Milwaukee, and I've done several there. I did one in Maine. I've done, in Illinois. I went to Michigan to do a trail race because it was in a place called Hell. I mean,
right, Hell, Michigan.
That's awesome, and you can eat ice cream in Indiana. In Hell.
Yeah, ice cream in Hell. Sure. No, I grew up in central Indiana, so I still consider myself a Hoosier. So same area all around there. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I've got a couple of friends who all of a sudden would find themselves signed up for various races. Now, none of them regretted it, but especially my one friend, Allison, I signed her up for a Spartan race in Fenway Park, and she's a diehard Red Sox fan, and she got to see the World Series trophy, so she was not mad at me.
No, I imagine not.
Once we were done. But when I was in Milwaukee, I was out for a run on the Navy Training Center down in it's the Navy Training Center, Great Lakes, and with another Coast Guard friend, another senior chief, and we ran into one of his friends who's a retired Navy chief. He's a special forces. He's a diver. Drop him off in Afghanistan. He'd win the war for you, but he's retired, so he's not going to do that for you now. But
I would hope not. You have to stop doing that at some point.
At some point, yes, but he had this idea. He wanted to do a 42-mile endurance swim. With him as a swimmer, to raise money for a charity that takes care of combat vets with PTSD. And I found myself agreeing to be his kayak safety officer. And after we're done, I was like, wow, I get it now. I just got Jen.
Help me understand a kayak safety officer.
So he'd be swimming, I'd be in the kayak, and there'd be a couple of other people that we had a kayak. We ended up with a couple of kayakers. We had a small boat, a small motorboat, and we had Ray was the main swimmer, and there was another veteran who was swimming along with him.
Okay, so this is you're there in case he cramps up or Yeah,
we're just to support them in the water. We could also go get water and food for them from the motorboat and bring it out to them. And what
Sure.
we're also trying to do is provide a buffer for the other boats. If there are other boaters out there,
Right.
recreational boaters, to try and
Make sure
provide
people
a
know
safe
there's a
zone.
swimmer. Yeah.
Yes. And being the good coaster that I was, I told the Coast Guard that the small boat stations along the area. It's like, hey, this is our plan. This is what we intend to do. Just so we're there.
Sure.
But Lake Michigan, we're doing it on Lake Michigan, and people don't respect they don't respect the Great Lakes. I mean, they're not lakes; they're inland oceans, and
They're gigantic.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. But you don't respect the lakes; they have zero respect for you. And this particular day, the weather forecast went from absolutely perfect conditions. It was going to be
Sure.
2 to 3 foot swells, decreasing to nothing overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Gorgeous time for a swim. To within an hour, here's the thunderstorm with the 7-foot breaking waves that are going to kill you all.
Sure. I mean, just listen to the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, I believe.
Yeah.
Is that Dan
Yeah.
Fogelberg? I think it is.
Yeah, and we were a quarter mile from shore. We didn't go out into the lake. We were that close, and these waves were
Sure.
just huge. And I'm a fairly experienced kayaker, and even I was having problems with these. But we had a new, kind of a newbie kayaker was the other kayaker out there, and the swimmer was fine. He's just in the water, he doesn't care. But the rest of us are like, you know what? No, wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
So we made the call. We're done. We're going in. We're not going to deal with the storm because we're going to die.
Right.
So we get the swimmers out of the water, and we're getting the kayaks over onto the boat. And someone's got the bright idea that instead of just holding the kayaks next to the boat and then jumping off, swimming over, climbing up onto the boat, we're going to hold the kayaks to the side of the boat, and the kayaker is going to try to climb up into the boat.
Oh, that seems like a bad idea.
Hi, Kat.
Look who's back.
Oh, hi guys.
And in high definition.
Yeah, that look good.
Oh yeah, we took some screenshots. You're gonna love them.
I can't wait. I heard. Sorry, Jen.
Oh, it's all right. Stuff happens. So, it's my mistake podcast. So, of course, things are going to
It's on brand.
It's on brand.
Please continue.
Jen's a trooper. We're right into another story here.
She's a pro. She's a pro.
Yeah.
And
Totally.
it works out. I was telling them this is a funny story, but it's not as funny as the next one I'm going to tell. But yeah, this is so we're trying to bring the kayaks to the side of the boat. We're holding them there. I've been in this damn kayak for like 5 hours at this point. All right, my knees are like cramped. There's no way I'm going to stand up.
Mm-hmm.
So while the kayak's next to the boat, I see it coming. This like 7-foot wave. This is like this thing it's huge and it's coming. I already know what's going to happen. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I'm out. I'm just jumping. So I just jumped out of the kayak into the water, and everything went to plan right up until the personal flotation device I was wearing, like I made everybody wear. Well, mine was one that automatically inflated when it hit the water.
Oh boy!
And I had it strapped down pretty tightly because this thing's kind of flapping around a little bit. So this thing, it does its job. It performs perfectly. It automatically inflates, but because I have it strapped down so tight, it just went.
It gave you a bear hug around
Yes,
your throat.
Choked
it's
you out.
freaking choking me out. So, here I am rolling around 7-foot waves, trying to take my PFD off because the damn thing's choking me out.
Is the personal strangulation device? Is that
Personal strangulation device. And I was just like, there is no effing way I am not going to get out of this water. The Coast Guard is not coming to save me. I will never live this down. So I'm able to unsnap this thing, so I'm able to, get it, get it off my neck, so I can hop up into the surface and be like, okay, we're good. Told everyone I was good. And I swam to the back of the boat, and I climbed up, and they were able to get the kayak in, and
Wow.
we found a marina that we were able to pull into, and the volunteer, whoever's at the marina comes out to the pier, and we're like, "Hey, we're not members, so how much do we owe you for the dock space? Because we're gonna die." And they're like,
Right.
"We're just happy we're able to help out here." So they were just happy we're able to use the marina. But yeah,
So the any port in a storm policy
exactly.
applied? Okay.
It definitely applied. But yeah, I just there I was rolling around in this cold, stinky water with my PFD choking me out, thinking that wasn't good.
My
Could end
goodness.
badly.
It always weirds me out because, like, Lake Michigan, it's a freshwater lake. You hear about people swimming long distances in saltwater, and the buoyancy is something you don't have to worry about as much, right? So it seems to me like you're doing maybe not twice the work, but more of the work just to keep yourself afloat.
All right.
Oh, who do we have here?
This is one of my cats, and you're about to that's his
There it
butt,
is.
America.
That's it, right there.
Come on, Petrie.
You promised us.
I did promise a cat's butthole. This one is Petrie. Go over there.
I really wish I could remember one of those things that Kate McKinnon talked about when she was being abducted by flying saucers.
Right.
She's like, my hoot hooter and my poop shooter are both in the camera frame.
Here he comes again because this is his game. So
So
all right.
nice. He's doing it twice.
yeah.
Oh.
What a cutie.
And then he gets a little hug. And
Oh,
He's so sweet.
oh, he's beautiful.
yeah,
Beautiful
he
cat.
is a cutie.
Yep.
Petrie.
Petrie.
Yeah, the foster family named the litter after the Land Before Time dinosaurs, and I didn't change his name, or Spike is the other one. Although
Nice.
I've kind of enabled him, and he's kind of fat. So now that we're down in Florida, my pet sitter is Cuban and speaks. She calls him El Gordito.
El Gordito.
Yeah,
That
sure.
one. So it's kind of like a mob name. So I'm gonna just.
I like
El
it.
Gordito. El Gordito is shunning me right now, so I don't think he's gonna get to see. He might be coming around again. All right.
What's worth doing twice is worth doing 3 times. That's what I've always said.
Yeah,
I agree.
he's definitely a ham. But yeah, I did have one other kind of funny story, and I have to introduce
Oh, yeah.
my other little friends here.
Grogu.
This is this one is named TC because
Okay.
my friend Jenny Harris crocheted him for me when the child did not have a name yet. So I called him TC for the child.
Is that also the same TC that has their own trading card?
That is TC, yes.
I love it.
Oh, there we
Oh,
go.
there's a big one.
Yep, same TC. But yeah, and so I was he's the one Greg strangling. Greg he's the one that Greg Lawson is strangling one of my pictures from Murph Expo. It's hilarious.
I love it.
And in another video that no longer exists.
That's right.
He took Grogu. No, Gregu was the one I crocheted and made for him and booted him into the ceiling. It was hilarious. But so anyway, TC and I have gone on multiple adventures. This guy's probably more whiskey soaked than Winona Earp at this point in time. But
That's saying something.
that's a lot of his adventures with myself and my friend Kelly OJ from Wisconsin do seem to involve alcohol. But this one does not. But so when I transferred to Wisconsin, I met one of the people I met his name was Kelly OJ. We just call him KO. Turns out he's literally only 15 minutes older than I am. Our birthdays are that close, and we have convinced sober people that we're twins.
Okay.
we just have such a good time clowning around together. But his great uncle died in Bataan during World War II, and so every year he goes to New Mexico. Right around March, they have the Bataan Memorial Death March. Apparently, a very large, a pretty good percentage of New Mexico soldiers actually died in Bataan. So they have at White Sands Missile Range. They have it's a 26.2 mile. It's not a race. You can run it if you want. You can do it in uniform if you're military. You can do it carrying weights. A lot of people who carry weights, they actually you carry food, and your pack has to weigh a minimum 35 pounds at the finish. So you can't be like, oh, well, I'm just going to put all the water in there and drink it all and lighten my load. No, you got to weigh 35 pounds at the finish.
Wow.
But
So you have to have 70 pounds of water.
Pretty
and
much.
You can drink 35 pounds.
But people carry food and it gets donated to a food bank at the end. And I told KO that, you know what, I'm going to do this with you one year. And so, of course, the year we picked was 2019. When the apocalypse started. So we didn't actually get to do the Death March, but that's something that's like, darn it, I didn't get to do the Death March.
Right, you were signed up for it. You had every intention, and shucks, you couldn't.
But But we were out there. We did a couple of other runs just to kind of get acclimated. There was a 5K series we were doing, and we did some touristy things. And one of the things we did was we went just to go see the White Sands National Monument. And I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous because it looks like it's almost like you're looking out over Tatooine. It's just white sands and Rockies in the background, and that's it. So of course we take the child, and we've got all the goofy pictures. And one of those pictures I think was that was some of the pictures that TC here that I took of him in New Mexico. And it's kind of a warm day. It's like in the 80s, and so we make a couple of stops, take our pictures. We'll take a bunch of pictures for ourselves. Oh, and KO's mother has gone on this trip with us too, and she's still in the car. And so we get to the last stop. We're just going to take a couple quick pictures for ourselves and call it good. So I decide, you know what? We've got enough pictures of Baby Yoda. Let's just go get pictures of KO and me. So leave the little crocheted doll in the car and shut the door. And I yell over to KO, "Hey, I'm just going to leave the child in the car." And I start walking away like
nobody could have
right?
misinterpreted that, Jen.
Oh,
no.
I took like 3 steps, and all of a sudden I just replayed in my mind what I said, and I'm like, yeah, that didn't sound good at all. And I turn around and look, and there's this pregnant woman, and what I presumed was her husband, and they are just looking at me like, daggers and murder in their hearts, and they have just found the worst person to walk the face of the earth since Hitler. And I'm just like, no, it's the crochet baby doll, it's the child from the Mandalorian. And I open the door to get it out and show him. Meanwhile, Caleb's mother is in the car, okay? Well, he doesn't announce to the world, I'm just going to leave my mom in the car. But, yeah, so I just run to the car, I get the child back out. I'm like, it's the child from the Mandalorian. And the guy started laughing, but the woman, I mean, like I said, she had murder in her heart, and she just could not calm down. She just like stormed away.
She was in full maternal rage.
Oh my God,
yeah.
yes, maternal rage. Yeah, so of course I have to put that story on Facebook, and every time it comes up in my memories, I share it because everyone's got to get a laugh out of the parenting skills with a Z or lack thereof. Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I mean, it's not funny why, but it's just funny.
It's pretty funny. I found it hilarious.
It's pretty good. But yeah, so it's the time the crocheted Baby Yoda almost got me shanked by a pregnant lady.
I think that's the title of the episode, Jen.
Oh, there we go.
Shanked by a pregnant lady with Master Chief Jen. Mm-hmm.
That's a good one.
Cat's writing that down right now.
That sums it up too.
Now, before we let you go, I have some follow-up questions, and
Okay,
if my internet hadn't taken a dump, I would have asked you in the Coast Guard portion of our show.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Will you indulge me?
Certainly.
First question is, when you're out there, you've been out there in the water, you see any weird shit? Any stuff that can't really explain, or like mermaids or anything?
Yeah, not really. I mean, I've heard other people have some stories, but I personally have actually never seen any UFOs or anything like that. So, never saw the green flash, never saw anything cool. So, well, I mean, I saw cool things, but it was all like, whales and things like that. So,
Okay.
But no 5-headed sharks is what you're saying.
No 5-headed sharks. No, they saw us coming, and they were like, get out of Dodge. They heard about another gunnery exercise we had that, this one didn't involve any boats or anything like that, but we're firing the big 3-inch gun off the front. And,
nice.
Apparently the whale didn't get the memo that we were having a live fire gunnery exercise. And all of a sudden one of the lookouts said, "There's a whale spouting." And we're like, "Ceasefire."
Oh, God.
So we didn't shoot the whale, but the 5-headed shark probably heard about that. It was like, I'm out.
Yeah,
Stay away from these maniacs.
that's right. 3 inches doesn't sound very big, but when it's a gun...
Well, I actually don't have the shell casing handy. It's in another
shit.
room, but it's the shell casing was about that big. The projectile was probably a good couple feet long.
We're
Yeah,
looking at a
it's
wingspan of a 12-year-old right here.
Yeah, pretty
exactly.
much. Yeah, the 3 inches refers to the width of the the diameter of the base
Right.
itself.
Right. Right. Any idea how many grains we're talking about in there? I mean, it would have to be an awful lot.
I
love that.
once upon a time I could answer that question, but I don't remember. It's been a few
Fair.
years.
I couldn't
lot.
remember the word deterrent earlier, so don't even worry about it.
Yeah, you're good, Jen.
It's a lot. It's a big pew. It's fun to fire.
Pew pew.
Pew, pew, pew. My next question. How often are you rescuing dummies in sailboats that don't know what they're doing?
Well, I'm an electronics technician, so I've always been more of in a support role. Though the cutter I was on, we did rescue some, coincidentally enough, some dummies in the sailboat who the sailboat broke down. And I have other friends who were like, yeah, they got calls because they're stranded out in the water because they're on a sailboat and their engine stopped working, and we're like, you got sails.
Yeah.
Put them up in self rescue. But it's a lot of the people, a lot of the people we rescue are just, genuinely shit goes wrong. But a lot of the people that we save are shit went wrong because, there's a reason for everything. And sometimes the reason is you're a dumbass. And, there's a lot of that happens as well. But you know what? That's what we're here for. So we give people back to birthdays. That's one of the things we like to say.
People back to birthdays? I love
back
that.
to birthdays.
I like it.
There's a reason for everything, and the reason is you're a dumbass.
You're a dumbass.
Yep.
That is a great quote. My last question is, with all the the AFFs and the this and that, what is the most Coast Guard sentence you can say? Full of all the. Just give us the most Coast Guardy thing you could say.
I love it when Kat puts the guest completely on the spot. It's amazing.
It's my job.
Oh, well, while I'm pondering that, I can stall for a moment because my other cat has made an appearance. This one is El Gordito.
Oh, hello, Gordito.
Hello, Gordito.
Oh,
Gordito's not even as fat as my fattest cat. I'm just telling you right now.
He's got a few good pounds on Spiky, so on Petrie. I mean, this one is Spiky.
It's pretty chill.
Let's see.
I mean, you could say some shit. We wouldn't know, Jen.
I'm trying to come up with something that's actually honest.
When have you've actually picked something up and hit the button and you said this sentence to somebody on the other end?
Well, we've got our favorite announcement over the PA system, which is now liberty, liberty, liberty. Liberty is hereby granted. Oh, damn it! I can't remember exactly how it goes. It's been a few years since I've had to make this particular announcement, but but the really funny thing is there's been a number. Every night you screw up something like that, and your tongue gets tied, or you get all stumbled up, and then you hear someone say "shit" right over the PA. That's a good one. Knowing about smartly, that's another one of our sayings. It's kind of like, okay, we don't have anything for you to do right now, so go mill about smartly. Stand by to stand by. Mill about smartly while standing by. I usually freelance that one a little tiny bit.
Hurry up and wait. Is that just Army?
That's our version of hurry up and wait. Just stand by to stand by. Mill about smartly while standing by. Just hurry up and wait. That's just a military thing. We just all say it slightly.
It's also a film set thing, by the way, John.
Okay.
Sure. Oh yeah. It used to be that people who were in the military then went into the films. Not so much these days. It seems like it's one or the other. But I wanted to ask: the liberty, liberty, liberty. Is that when you're telling people that they're free to go ashore and?
Yes.
Okay.
When your cutter's in port. And you're just doing like regular day working. There's a duty section that's got to stay there overnight, but everybody else gets granted liberty, and that's the announcement that you're waiting to hear, because that means you can, with your chief's permission, with your shop supervisor's permission, you can get off that boat and you are free for the evening.
I want to tell you what it's so sad too, but this is my equivalent of the liberty, liberty, liberty. Is I grew up Catholic. And when you would go to Mass every Sunday, at the end, the priest would say, the mass is ended. Go in
Go in
peace to love and serve the Lord.
Yes, I grew up
And-
Catholic too.
There you go. And so that was that was to me was liberty, liberty, liberty. It's like you can go now. Thank you.
You've been dismissed. We've filled your brain with all the preachings.
Yep.
But
Yep.
yeah, I can't
We've
believe
been
I can't
indoctrinated
remember.
yet once again.
Good for a week. I can't believe I can't remember that pipe. I mean, how many times did I actually have to make that pipe? But, we don't call it an announcement. We call it a pipe.
Because you're yelling into the pipe because that's
Right.
what the intercom used to be.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I love it. Well, all right. So there's an announcement that we do at
True.
the end of every podcast. And when we have a new guest, Jen, we will always ask, have you listened to the podcast before?
I have listened to the podcast.
You have listened to the podcast before. Now, what we don't usually ask is, have you listened to the podcast before all the way to the end?
I have. Yeah.
You have. So you
Yes.
know our signature sign-off.
I know the signature sign off. Yeah.
John, Jen knows what she's doing.
I never had any doubt that Jen was going to be one of the guests who did not disappoint us on this. So do you want to lead us in that? But first of all, is there anything we need to know about you? Do we need to check out an Instagram account? Is there something you've got going that you want people to know about?
I'm on Instagram and on Twitter, both as @MasterChiefJen. Let's see, I don't currently have anything going on right now. Don't have anything charity-wise or anything like that going on that I'm going to be putting on, or any kind of, hey, look at me do stupid things for race playing.
That is totally fine. We now have an excuse to have you on the next time you do have one of those things.
Exactly.
Oh, I probably could spend another hour telling stupid things I have done for race playing stories as well. So
We're going to hold you to that, Jen.
Yes, we are.
So, all right.
I've got a box full of medals, and I've done, like I said, I do dumb things for, yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, then, do you want to lead us in our signature sign-off?
Okay, do we just want to use the initials, or do we want to say the whole thing?
You
Your
know,
choice.
it's dealer's choice.
You know what? Let's
And
just
you are
say
the
the whole
dealer.
thing.
I love it.
Love it.
He's not the vice president anymore. This is in no way disrespectful or in violation of the UCMJ. So fuck Mike Pence.
Fuck Mike Pence.
Fuck Mike Pence. And Jen, thank you for your service.
Thank you. For
Thank you. You're welcome for my service.
Okay, John, you ready to go?
I mean, am I ever?